Hi, Mark here from the law firm of Care and Heffernan. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about medical malpractice. Specifically, I want to talk about stroke cases or the failure to diagnose a stroke case. Unfortunately, with the aging population that we have here in Florida, strokes are an all too often occurrence. And what we see is sometimes emergency rooms or hospitals or doctors don't recognize that a patient is having a stroke. They'll mistake it for something else and not do the things that they're supposed to do. So the things that an emergency room is supposed to do, and by the way, all hospitals have this, whether it's a stroke center or not, all hospitals have to have what's known as a stroke protocol. And that stroke protocol means that the hospital or the emergency room physician needs to follow a certain set of instructions or guidelines to make sure that stroke victims are treated appropriately. But that means that they have to make a diagnosis of a stroke or a possible stroke. And that's where sometimes things get lost. So sometimes the doctor will either disregard the symptoms or not understand the symptoms that the patient is having, and they will not order the appropriate test and ultimately the appropriate interventions that could mitigate the effects of the strokes. So the things that a hospital is supposed to do is they're supposed to immediately initiate a CAT scan to see whether or not there's what's known as a bleed. If there is no bleed, then the patient who is possibly having a stroke is a candidate for a clot-busting drug known as TPA. And that TPA will break up a potential clot and in essence alleviate the symptoms that the patient is experiencing, and hopefully the clot will get dissolved and won't cause any long-term damages or long-term injuries and can lead to a full recovery. But the most important part is a timely diagnosis of the signs and symptoms of a stroke.